Okay, now for something different. I'm going to take a look at a Beatles tune today. I grew up with these tunes, and I find them of real special interest because they are a perfect example of straight ahead classical harmony, believe it or not. And we'll go through an analysis of this, and we'll talk about how to play it. One thing I'd like to say about pop tunes like this is that in pop is actually very similar to classical music because in pop you have to play a part. You play a very specific guitar part, in this case, guitar part that fits in with what else is going on in terms of the group, and you can't sort of muddle around with that. The parts are very specific; they fit together perfectly. That's what makes a band sound great when all the parts are fitting together. Okay, this tune was written in 1965, and I'm certain that the harmony of this tune was very affected by George Martin, who at the time was referred to as the sixth or fifth Beatle, probably the fifth and sixth Beatle, actually. There's very his role in the Beatles was very played down, and but when I look at a tune like this, I can see his influence just jumps out. So let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so here's the chart, and we're in the key of D. Okay, let's take the first section. Let's just take it right from the top. So we're in the key of D, and one of the first uses of the in terms of real common chord progressions is that sus4, right? And you can hear that sus4, especially when it's pedaled against the D. And in the melody, we have a 2, right? So if I played the 2 in the melody, right, the melody is actually a 2, the second degree of the D major scale, which is cool, and it's happening. That 2 is happening against the sus4, right? So we have, if I played it like the melody with the D chord. Really nice effect, and then we go back to that D with the sus4. And on this chart, they actually say D2-4, right? Because they're recognizing that there's a 2 in the melody. So you could actually, I mean, if you ever want to play this tune, you could play either the sus4 or the 2, because it's in the melody. There's going to be no conflict either way. Then guitaristically speaking, I was watching a video and George was making the change to the flat 7 major chord being the C. He was like that quick change to that common old C chord. But it really is nicer to God bless you, George. But I mean, obviously, he was instrumental in playing the guitar part, right? But this is an easier way, and it keeps that D pedaled. So I just have to flip over. That's a really common change, nice and quick, and it keeps that pedal D there when we change to the C. lovely effect, right? You could even make this quicker by doing a one-finger change in muting. Okay, and then it sort of repeats the same thing. Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. They tried to get clever with this chart and throw in a D over F sharp, and then throw in the relative minor of G, but they're not in the original recording, and I don't think they add anything to the part to the tune. So I would just forget the D over F sharp. The F sharp, the clever part is supposed to be that it's going like this. Right, like the F sharp moving to the E, and then to the A sus and the A. Don't bother with that. It may look clever, but it's actually a substitution for what's on the recording, which is just as effective, and it just gets a little messy. So we can work it out. Okay, now the A sus I'd keep, that's cool. And it's the same idea as you have with the D sus and with the A sus. And the effect there, you can hear it. It sounds like it's suspended. It sounds like it wants to fall, back down to the to the chord, right? To the third of the chord, if you will. Okay, then we go to the relative minor, and we, in terms of the recording itself, it goes to this straight 4 feel. So what this is B minor, or the 6th chord in the key of D, right? So, and then we have a slash bass coming up, right? And that bass movement is going down to the G, B minor over G, which effectively becomes a G major 7th chord. But it's a more intelligent way of writing it like this. And then we have the F sharp sus again. Sus is all over the place. Right, that sus wants to, again, fall to the F sharp. Now the F sharp is the 5 chord in the key of B minor. All right, so in other words, what we've done is we've just raised the leading tone so that it resolves nicely to the B minor. Right? It's common. So that the F sharp major, and then a clever little thing happens here where it feels like 3. Right? You could count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and or you could look at it as quarter note triplets. But suffice to say, it's a feel of 3. Okay, you'll get it if you just get the feel of 3 in your head. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So let's take that section again, which they have marked as the bridge. Okay, and so on, right? So you get the idea. Let's do a quick analysis of the tune. We have the one chord, obviously, in the key of D, and that suspension over the one chord happens over and over again. Then we have we're going down to a C chord. What has a C chord got to do with the key of D? If you're harmonizing this tune from a D major scale, it's not going to work because the D major scale, as indicated in the key signature, has a C sharp in it. But this is a C natural. So we call this a C. I'm sorry, we call this a flat 7 major chord because it's on the 7th degree of the scale, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and but it's flatted. It's not a C sharp, it's lowered. It becomes a C. Extremely important to understand that chord progression. So that is a flat 7 major chord in the key of D major, and then flat 7 major chord again in the key of D major, and then we have the 4 chord in the key of D, and we took these the fancy stuff out here. We didn't play the 2 chord, actually, the 2 chord in the key of D, and then we again had that sus over the 5 chord, right? Sus. And then we go to the relative minor, which is very closely related to the D, right? And then with those moving bass notes, moving A, G, and then F sharp sus again, leading back. That leading tone in the right, and then and not to forget that 3 section 1 with that nice moving bass line. That's what those slashes are all about. A nice easy chart to read, but I would suggest going directly to the song itself and play along, because this is in the original key, and memorize it. Memorize what's here. I find that numbers are the most effective way of memorization. So you have a 1, a flat 7, a 1, a flat 7, and a flat 7 major, and then a 4, and then a 5, right? Really easy to remember that way. And then it goes to the 6 chord with a moving bass line, and a 6 chord in 3 with the same moving bass line. And that's it, simple tune. Back to George Martin. There's some really clever ideas here from a songwriting perspective, from a compositional perspective, right? Not only the way the susses are used, but also moving to the relative minor, and then moving to the hemiolo, or the section in 3, is pretty clever stuff. If you compare the Beatles, for instance, to other pop groups of the period, you won't hear progressions like this. And, if you do hear progressions like this in any other groups, let me know. So that, for me, tells me that I have a certain suspicion that George Martin, being the 5th and 6th Beatle, was far more involved in the harmonic structure of the tunes than we recognize. All right, so that's a little bit of a workout with a great classic Beatles tune, and I intend to do a few more because I'm finding that they're an easier way to analyze a lot of the stuff that we're talking about in the videos. Not so many chord changes, nothing in the way, in this case, in the way of modulations and 7 flat 9 chords and whatever. So it's really straightforward. It's strong. It's beautiful. It's something that obviously I came to as a native, to this music, and jazz, I was a little bit more of an immigrant later on. But this stuff, I had the record player with 6 quarters on the head of the needle, so it would stay in the grooves of the record, which I had played 200 times. That's it for today, and we can work it out by the Beatles as well as the fifth and sixth Beatle, Mr. George Martin. You should look him up. Pretty amazing guy, and did great work with Jeff Beck, with John McLaughlin and the Mahavishnu Orchestra, as well as Jerry and the Pacemakers. You know, he was instrumental in creating the Mersey beat sound of the period. All right, good. Thanks, and we'll see you real soon.